Hello internet! So today I'm pretty excited about this video, mainly because I love simplifying things and I think I did a pretty good job with this one. So this video is going to be all about storing data, and we're going to do it thanks to our TikTok app. Now, I have seen a lot of TikTok clones out there, which is awesome. However, I do think they focus more on the UI and the UX, which is fine, but like a big company like TikTok probably doesn't store their data in state. It uses a data management system. So where else or where better to start than by using one of the most popular database management systems out there? I'm talking about Cassandra. It backs so many major companies, for example, Apple, eBay, what else? Netflix, Walmart, McDonald's, like literally like so many. It's crazy. Now, I am not a 1,000-person company and nor are you, so let's just actually get some deliverables down about what you can expect by the end of this project. So, by the end of this project, you will have a simple database built on Apache Cassandra, a React app, so the app itself, and then a database in which we're going to be making loads of requests to, for example, put requests, get requests, and post requests. We will also do some filtering, so filtering our users by descending order, and that's it. So I'm really excited about this video. As this is an introductory video, I'm not going to be going too wild on the data. I'm going to have a simple data object that represents our user and post. By no means is this what TikTok has. Like TikTok is probably like insane. From the top of my head, it probably has like a user object which has a user and a username and an avatar, and then like an array of people that they follow and an array of people that follow them back, and then an array of another object, like a post object that has the video. And don't even get me started on the likes and comments. Like it's a lot. We're not going to do it. We're going to stick to our simple object for now. That does not mean, however, that by the end of the tutorial, you can't take this project and, take it to that next level, because we're going to cover everything that you need to be able to do that. Now, I've put all the necessary links that I mentioned in my video in the description, as well as the final code for this project. So if you do get stuck at any point, please do refer to that to hopefully get you unstuck or unblocked. Or, feel free to pull it down and just watch this so you can understand what's going on in there. That's absolutely cool too. Once you have finished your project though, please do share it with me. I would absolutely love to see what you have made. Take it, make it your own, style it up, but yeah, please do share. As always, please also do like and subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot. I say this as I would love to hear from you to know that I should be creating more content. So, what are we waiting for? Let's do it. TikTok app. Okay, so first things first, let's start off with creating our database. Okay, this is going to be super super All you need to do is go to DataStax. This is the company that I am using for this tutorial, and click try for free. So this is a free service. Obviously, if you want to go next level with your data, you're going to have to pay for it, but it's free for projects like this one, which is pretty cool. So let's do it. Now, I've already signed up, so I'm just gonna skip this part, but you feel free to take your time and fill this out. I am just gonna cheat and go straight to my dashboard. Okay, so in here we have our dashboard. As you can see, it says that we don't have any databases yet, so this is what we need to do. I'm just going to go ahead and add a database. Now, in the choose plan and provider, we are going for the free option. As I mentioned, there are other options too, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going with the free one. Down here, where we select a cloud provider, I'm going to go with Google Cloud, and select the region Europe West. Now, it is important to remember all these, definitely get a pen or, save it on your laptop. Europe West is one of the things that we're going to have to remember, and click configure. Now it comes to configuring and creating our dashboard. Again, these are things you're going to have to remember. Of course, they are stored in the platform, but, in case you want an easier way to reach them, I'd advise that too. So database name. Well, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to make it easy for us and put Anya Kubo database, Anya Kubo key space for the key space, and you guessed it, Anya Kubo username, and Anya Kubo. Well, you probably know. I'm going to change it actually. I'm going to change it. Yeah, I will. No, I'll show you because you'll see it later anyway. So Anya Kubo password. Anya Kubo password. Okay, doesn't match. Anya Kubo password. Anya Kubo password. Cool. Create database. So now we have created our database. This is all we need to do because the implementation of this database and us actually using it in our project is going to be so incredibly simple. We don't need to actually go creating an actual table, which is pretty epic. So I'm going to show you that later on. All you need to know is that if you click in here, it basically has all the stuff that we need. So our cluster ID, that's an important one. The database name, of course, the username, the region, and the key space name. So all those things, plus the password, those are important. That is essentially how we're going to be accessing our database in our project. So with that being done, let's actually get to starting our project. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is actually create your project. So for this, I'm actually going to use the Create React App template. So it's really easy to do if you want to just quick start a React project. So I'm going to navigate to a directory that I like to work in, that is development. And in here, I'm simply going to type npx create react app. And then I'm going to get rid of my app and call this Stargate, if I can only spell, Tik Tok. Cool. Do I want to proceed? Yes. And that should get going on creating my React app called Stargate TikTok. So I'm just going to wait for that to load in all the packages, everything that we need to start our project. It's obviously taking a while, so I'm going to probably cut this out in editing. So blah, 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 blah. That was me pretending to fast forward. And we are done. Amazing. So let's navigate to Stargate TikTok. Cool. Now I'm going to use code dot to open up in VS Code as I'm using VS Code. Of course, like if you're using your own editor, that's cool too. That's just what I'm using at the moment. Okay, so here we go. Here is my project. Thanks to Create React App, it's already got everything set up for us. I'm actually just going to go through and delete some things that I actually don't need. So we need the dot ignore. I'm going to delete yarn lock as I like to use npm. Just going to move that to trash. Let's see here, app tests. I'm going to get rid of that, delete. I also don't need the report web vitals and the setup tests, so that can go as well. Shoe, go. Okay. And this is, look, I'm just going to keep this. This is looking okay. I don't want to import the logo. Keep the styling, sure. Then I just believe there's a few things to get rid of still, so I'm going to get rid of that. And in here, I'm going to get rid of the report web vitals, as again, we do not need that. Okay, now in here, I'm just going to clear this for us. In here, I'm going to type npm run start, as that is one of the scripts that you can see to start the app in the package JSON that Create React App has provided for us. So actually this won't work because we got rid of the yarn lock. So I'm just going to go npm I. Now I am reinstalling my packages with npmi, so it should produce a package lock JSON file. It's just my preference. Of course, you're free to use Yarn if you wish. Okay, now npm run start. Let's get up our create React made React app. Okay, so you should see it loading on localhost 3000. And if we inspect the page, we can see if there's anything gone wrong, but there hasn't. Amazing. Here is a template that we can work with. Now, of course, this is, again, the React template stuff. So I'm going to get rid of it so we can start with a fresh slate. So from here. Cool. So if we look in here, we will see that the index.js is where everything starts. This is where we render into the root. So we get the element by root, and that is in the public folder. So essentially, we're going to be shoving all our JavaScript into here. So this is sort of like where we're starting. This is our starting base. In here, we are rendering the app, which is this component right here. I'm actually going to change this to a functional const app. Okay, just again, a preference that I have. Cool. So let's think about it. What's the first thing we need to do? Well, we know that our TikTok app is going to have a homepage that has the feed, and I also want an upload page. Okay, so I want 2 pages. For this, we're going to have to use some routing. So back to our index.js. Okay, so for this, I'm actually gonna need a few things from React Router DOM. I'm not sure that is something that is provided for us. It is not, so let's go ahead and install that. I'm just gonna open up a new tab, npmi React Router DOM. Okay. So that's going to now be installed for us so we can use it in our project. React Router DOM is essentially what we need to make some routing to pages in our app. So now that we have that, I'm just going to go import hash router, root, and switch, as those are things that we are going to need from React Router DOM. Okay, I'm going to go into everything in a lot more detail in a bit. I'm just going to get rid of these because, again, don't like them. Cool. So we've got our routers. Let's actually make some pages. So to do this, I'm going to have to create some page components. In my sources folder, I'm going to create a pages folder with a file home.js with a capital H, as that's what we do with components. We give them capitals. Now, I've already made a home file here. I'm just going to copy paste this. I'm going to use the same syntax that we did for the app here to create our home component. Cool. I'm not sure we need this because we don't have a home class and we don't have any styling for this. So what the nifty thing about create React app is that you actually don't need to go and keep importing React to use in it. So usually we have something like import React from React up here, but obviously we don't need that, which is quite handy. I'm really into that. Okay, so we've got our home component here. In fact, I'm just going to put an h1 tag that says home so we can see it. And I'm going to do the same for an upload page. So upload JS. So now we have a home page and we have a upload page. Cool. Now let's go to routing it in here. Okay, so I want my routing to happen in the index.js file. However, it's importing my app. So my app is here. I actually think this is quite like an unnecessary step. So what I'm going to do is actually just cut this out delete that and go in here. And instead of importing app, I'm just gonna have app in here. So app gets exported. I'm making the app component, I'm exporting the app component, and I am using it here. But also in my app component is where I'm going to do the routing. So in this return statement, I want to actually wrap it with a hash router. Okay, so this is how you would route. You'd use the hash router, and in here we would use the switch that we also got from React Router DOM switch. And in our switch, we have a route. Now, each route is going to be a route to a page. So we can do this like this. I'm going to import the home page from pages and then home. So we've got that here. And then our first route is going to be component home, and then the path for this is going to be the home page, because we want the home page to be, you know, like the default when we visit our site. And now we also want component upload, and then the path. Well, let's just put upload. So if we visit a URL or our localhost for the time being with upload, we will see the upload page, which at the moment is just the word upload, but that should work. I'm also going to go import that here so we can actually use it and I don't get the red squiggly line. Import upload from pages upload. Cool. Now I'm going to show you something interesting. This order is actually not correct, and I wonder if I can make it not correct to show you, but let's just check it out. So here's our localhost. If I refresh this, we get the home page. That is because we are on the home page. If I go to upload, we also get the home page. This is because the ordering of this is wrong. We will always get the home page because you can see that as part of this as well. I'd actually need to move this up. So Command X and whack it in here. So now upload goes to upload. It's just like a silly thing that you have to do. It's mainly to do with how JavaScript reads it. But yeah, you need to make sure that, so if, for example, I had upload and then item, that would have to be at the top because otherwise it wouldn't get read correctly, okay? JavaScript would pick up just the upload first. Okay, so that is our routing done. Looking pretty neat. Upload page and then just home page. Sweet, cool. Routing done. Let's give our home page some love. Okay, so we have our homepage here. Now, I know that I want my TikTok app to look like this. I want it to have essentially a header that's going to be consistent for the upload page and the homepage. I also know I want it to have a followers column. So a followers column where we can see our people that we are currently following, a feed, and a little box, like a box of suggested accounts. So for this, I'm actually gonna start off with creating the header. So in here, I'm gonna make another folder called components to store all this. And then in our components folder, which should not be in pages, I want it to be in the source directory. So these two should be on the same level because it just makes sense. Of course, you don't have to have it like that, but that's just the way I want it to be. So in here, I'm going to put header.js. As I said, I want this. So I'm just going to copy this again to make my header component. Header. I'm actually going to start styling stuff, only slightly, because I don't want this tutorial to be all about styling, but just so we can roughly see where everything sits on the page. So class name, I'm going to go with header. Now, I actually just want one styling file because it's not a huge project, so I think I can afford to just keep all my styling in one file here. So I'm just going to delete all the stuff that Create React gave me, and in here for my header I'm going to make it just the color yellow, just so we can see it. So there we go, header with the name header, and I am going to actually put this above the switch, so before it starts switching up pages, I'm going to put the header component. So once again, I should probably import this, import header from components, header, sweet. Let's have a little look. It's not applying the style because import from app CSS, and let's just get rid of that one because we do not need it. Delete. Okay. Great. We've got our header, we've got our home page, we've got our upload page. Let's just check that the header is showing on the upload page too. And sweet. Done. Okay. So we've got our header. What else did we say? Well, in our home page, we also wanted a followers column. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm actually going to make it here first. Followers column. Not passing anything through yet because we have nothing to pass through. Import followers column from, again, well, I want to put it in the components folder, components. Followers column, cool. Just going to copy it so I don't have to paste, write it out again and perhaps misspell it. Great. And once again, I am just going to use followers column. Cool. Now I'm also going to give this a class of, I guess, followers column. And then once again, in my styling, followers column. Background color red. I'm also going to give it a width of now 500 pixels and a height of 800 pixels. Again, this is just so we can sort of see things where they are on the screen. Okay, so we've got our followers column in here. Next, we want to have just a feed, I guess. So I'm going to give it class name of feed. At the moment, I'm not going to put anything in that. No, let's leave it blank. And then a div, which is going to be actually our suggested box. So once again, class name suggested box. Cool. Once again, I'm just going to style it out so we can see this stuff. Feed. I'm going to leave feed blank actually. Yeah, for now. And then actually, do you know what? I'm just going to go background color white. And suggested box. Background color, what haven't we done? Blue. Blue, like the French, blue. Width, once again, I don't know, 400 pixels, and height, 400 pixels, as we would say, box. So square, box, same, roughly the same thing. Okay. What doesn't that like now? Okay, I can't find it. Why? Because we need to go out and then into the components. So that should do it. And ta-da! So we've got our followers column. Why doesn't it have any styling? Why? Followers column. Followers column. Ah, I misspelled last time. Okay, so this is looking good. We've got our followers column. Let's just actually use display flex to make sure the three are next to each other rather than on top of each other. I'm going to actually do this in a container div. So in home, I'm going to make this class name container. Sorry, I know this is not meant to be all about the styling, but it's a necessary evil. A container display flex. So this should make everything appear next to each other. Flex direction row. Great. So we've got our followers column. We've got our suggested box. Our feed has no width, hence it looks like that. So let's go ahead and give our feed a width of 500 pixels. This could all be too big. I think I'm going too big. Okay, cool. That doesn't need to be there. So let's go back here and put the h1 tag into our feed. So that should look a lot better. Great. Followers column, home, and suggested box, header. Amazing. I think it's time to actually start getting our data in. So let's do it. Okay, so to get our data in, I'm actually going to be making this a serverless function. And for this, I'm going to use Netlify and Netlify functions. It's just quite cool. It means that we don't need to write a server. We can just do everything with Netlify functions. If you haven't heard of them, this is the perfect place to start, as I'm going to be doing everything step by step and explaining everything along the way. So we're going to have to actually get two things, and Netlify CLI is one of them. So here we go. If you don't have Netlify CLI, this is something that we're going to have to download. I'm not going to do it globally. I'm actually just going to do it in my dev dependencies. So I'm just going to type in npm I Netlify CLI, and then because I want it in my dependencies, I need that at the end. So I'm going to install that. This is going to help us out when writing functions and running our app with Netlify. So this is important. It's super important for the project. If you want to have more of a read about Netlify, I've actually got the docs right behind me. So just feel free to visit this URL. Okay. So again, I'm just going to leave that to download. I'm going to edit this out. So okay, so now if we go into our package JSON, we will see Netlify CLI. Okay, so that's one down, a few more to go. We're also going to need Axios. So I'm just going to clear this command. Okay, npm I Axios. If you are familiar with making GET requests, put requests, then perhaps you already heard of Axios. We're going to be using it in this project too. If you haven't, please do stop and do a little bit of research about it, or feel free to carry on and watch and code along with me too. That's another package we're going to need, as well as the Astra collections package. So I'm going to actually show you it here. So of course we talked about making our database on DataStax Astra. It actually has a really useful package that's going to help us to create our database with. We're going to be able to interact with it super simply thanks to this package. If you want to read the full documentation for this, go to Stargate. I will put a link in the description below. So here we go, Astra collections. So we've got that here. This is what we're going to have to install. You can sort of already see here the sort of syntax that we're going to be using. You can see already that all the stuff that we mentioned before, the Astra database ID, region, username, password, are all going to be used in here using this package. If you would like to, please do visit the Astra Collections package online, as you can read a lot more about it. You can see here all the code that we're going to use in this project, including how to get items from our database that we get to create, how to create new items, how to edit items with the update function, and so on. So I'm really excited about showing you guys how to do this. It's like crazy easy. Okay, so let's get our terminal up. We need to install Axios and the Astra Collections package. Okay, cool. Once those two are downloaded, I'm actually just going to stop my Create React app from running, as we've downloaded a few things. And we can actually also now use the Netlify command line interface to get our project up with Netlify. So now I'm going to actually type in Netlify dev and enter. You will see here the Netlify dev is picking up our React script start script, and it's going to actually just get up our app for us, ready for us to view on localhost 8888. Now, this is no different. You might be wondering, like, why am I doing this? But this is super important, especially when we start doing requests with Netlify functions. So we want to be able to see the data that we're getting as a sort of, in inverted commas, backend. So this is going to help us do that. We wouldn't be able to do this in Create React app. We would have had to make a whole backend for this. So this is pretty neat, and I hope you will agree after this. So we've got our app here. I'm just going to go ahead and inspect the page again. Let's get to writing our first Netlify function. The first function is actually going to help us add data to our app. So I'm going to go ahead and just minimize some of this. So for now, I'm just going to close the source folder that I had up and running, because we, in the root of our folder, are going to create a folder called functions, in which we're going to store all the functions that are going to help us get data. So in the functions folder, I'm actually going to write add data.js. Just move that in here. Whoops. Okay, so make sure that's in the functions folder. Now in here, I'm actually going to use a lot of the syntax that we saw in this collection. So const create client, just going to copy paste that in here. And once again, just going to copy this here. Okay, so this piece of code, essentially what this is saying here is that we're going to be using our database ID. So as a reminder, these things right here, we're going to be using our database ID, our region, our username, and our password to create a token. So this token will essentially allow us to interact with the database. Without this token, we won't have access. It'll say unauthorized everywhere. We need this token. So to do this, I actually need to get those secrets in here. So I'm just gonna keep this in here for now, just so it's easier for us to like talk it through. So database ID, copy my cluster ID. I'm not going to make as a string because I'm not going to be keeping in this file. This is just so you can sort of see what I'm doing. Astro base region. Let's copy paste the region. The username. I actually know this. Username, because I have super easy credentials that I have chosen. Ania Kubo Pass. What? Okay. So for those of you that know a little bit about .env files, this is the syntax essentially for storing stuff in your .env file. Now, .env files are sort of like secret files. You don't want to upload them onto GitHub, but you do need them if you want to run this locally, because essentially we're going to be going into our env file to get these. Now, usually I'd have to download a .env package to help me do this, but with Netlify, we don't have to do any of that. So I'm simply just gonna, in the root of my folder, create a .env file. Now, I'm actually just gonna take all this, yep, and then whack it in here. So now, thanks to Netlify, we are able to read these values in here. Don't forget to put process env in front of it, otherwise it won't work. Cool. So that's the first step. If I actually console log Astra client, you will see the token itself. So I'm just going to do that for us. Okay, so this is looking good. There's actually a little bit more syntax that I need to do with Netlify functions, and it is this. I need to write exports handler. It's an async function. And then we need the event, the context, and the callback. This is sort of similar to like requests and responses, I guess. You'll see what I mean by this later. Now, exports handler. I'm actually just going to whack this in here. So that's looking good. We need to actually start off as collection. So a collection of posts. So I'm just going to go create const posts. And then use the Astra client from here. So this is again just syntax from here. I'm creating a collection, so this is what I essentially need to model what I'm writing on. We need to get the Astra client, and then I'm gonna need my namespace. Namespace. And then my namespace is actually my key space. Astra DB key space, and my key space is Ania Kubo key space. Okay, so I'm gonna have to restart this because of course we haven't picked it up yet. So let's do that now. Control C, Netlify dev. Or at least I think I do. I don't know, I've just always done it this way. Perhaps it just picks it up. Anyway, so now we know that the Astra database key space has been injected. Cool. Now I'm just gonna get this and stick this in here. So namespace, process env Astra db key space, and I want to call the collection Tik Tok, or let's just call it posts. I'm actually going to store this as a variable too, up here. Const collection equals posts. And just pass that in here. Collection. Okay. Delete that. So we've got our collection of posts, but we don't actually have any posts in there yet, right? So let's go to doing that now. Okay, so we have our Astra client. We've used our Astra client to essentially get a collection of posts. We have used the namespace, so the key space, and the collection that we have called posts. Now it's time to actually add some data. But before we do this, we actually need to do a little bit more config right here. So, and the root of my project, I'm actually going to add a Netlify toml file, making sure it's in the root. And in here, I just need to write some commands. So command npm run build functions. This is referring to our functions folder full of our functions, and publish build. Okay, so that is looking good. We've got everything we need in our package. JSON. I just need to add one more thing, and that is dev, and then Netlify dev, comma. Okay, let's carry on. So now to actually create and add data, I'm going to have to revert back to here. So the astrajs collection. And if I scroll down and find the create, so here we are actually creating a user subdocument, but of course we are not, we are creating posts. So I'm actually going to do this here. I'm just going to copy that for now so we can work with it. Try, and then return status code 200 if successful, and I need to put that in here actually. Just gonna put it here and then catch any errors. So console log console error, error, and return status code 500, and then let's actually go and see the error too. So JSON stringify error. Okay. Now, of course, we sort of just took this from the documentation. Let's actually adjust it to what we need. So I'm actually gonna, I don't need this. I don't need the return of this. Await our collection of posts and create, let's just go a post title, my first post. Okay. So this is looking good. Now, so we actually can see what is happening a bit more before we actually see anything, before I show you stuff. I'm just gonna create post.js. So in here we are creating our posts. Next we want to actually get our posts so we can see them in our browser, right? So for this, I'm actually gonna copy paste most of this because it's a lot of stuff that's being repeated. We need the Astra collections create client. We also need to know what our collection's name is. In this case, it's post. And then we also need to generate our Astra client. Once we have generated our Astra client, in order for us to be able to access our posts, we then need to get our posts. So I'm just actually going to go like this, await posts. However, this time I am going to store it as a response, and I also want to see it in my browser, so I also want to return JSON stringify the result. Okay, let's go back to the documentation. Let's just go find and leave it empty, or an empty object. Cool. Okay. So now I'm going to add the data and then to posts. And you will see here my first post. Now I've actually tried this a few times, so you've seen it here a few times, but there you go. We're getting back our first post. This is pretty awesome. Okay, so I've shown you how this works. Let's actually get to using it properly in our app. So I'm gonna actually go back here. Now, a shortcut of just, like clearing this, which, I mean, you probably shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it now, is I'm just going to start a new collection. So this collection is always going to have that data in it. I'm going to start a new collection. I'm going to call it Tik Tok Posts. And this time I don't want to create this. I want to create something else. So I'm just going to do it in posts as well so I don't forget. Tik Tok Posts. Cool. Now, in our add data Netlify function, I want to add 5 posts. Okay, so obviously we spoke before about what we want our posts to look like in terms of structure. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I'm going to do this under the Astra client. I'm going to make a const called data, and I want an array of 5 objects. Okay, so I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me type it all out. I'm just going to use something I made previously. So I'm just going to copy that in here and we can talk about it now. So here we have the const data and it has 5 objects in it. Here's my first object, my first post. In other words, I have decided that I want an ID, which is an integer, a name as a string, a username, a avatar, which is linked to a library that I'm going to show you and share with you if you want to use it, or you can make your own, is followed as a Boolean of true or false, video in the same way that I did the avatar, a caption for the video, how many likes it's got, how many comments, a timestamp in the correct format, and button visible true. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. So I actually sometimes like to store things on Imager. It's quite cool. It just essentially means that all my images and videos are stored here in this library, if you will, and I can access them with their URLs. So for example, here you can see my videos and profile pictures that I have used for my posts. So if I click here, you will see that essentially, here's one video, here's another one of a little jelly bear. If you click on here, you can get shareable links. And then I've just decided to use this one, a link like this, which is to the MP4 file. So that's how I did it. I essentially copied this link without the 2 image tags and whacked it in there. And that's how I access it. Okay, so these are my 5 objects or 5 posts. This is what we are adding to our database. Okay, our new collection is called Tik Tok Posts. So we have our data constant, which is an array of 5 objects. So now when it comes to creating it, I actually have to loop over. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to make a for loop. Let I equals 0. As long as I is smaller than data length. This is like a standard for loop that you've probably seen a million times. And then, so we're going to loop over it. I'm going to loop over it and keep creating. Create. We're going to create 5. So post create data I. So go into the first one, ID. So like before, let's look back on this. So if we look here on the create, we need to pass through, you know, like an identifier and then an object, which is the, I guess the meat of the post, for lack of better words. So for the identifier, I've actually chosen the object's ID. And then I'm just going to put the whole object in. Cool. So amazing. That is hopefully going to work. And in posts, I mean, I could just go find, but I'm actually going to like do a bit of destructuring. And then cool. I'm actually also going to do something else. So because, I mean, I can show you. So we have to restart this, I think. Again, like, I'm really sorry if I don't have to restart this. It's just a habit that I've got now. And I'm pretty convinced if I stop doing this habit, everything will break. But I'm just going to restart it to be sure. And ta-da! We see all of 5 posts. Amazing. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of this because this is not going to help us. These little numbers right here. I just want an array of objects. But before we do that, I'm going to take a quick break in order to let you get a cup of coffee or tea or whatever while I style it up. I don't think, I mean, this is not like a styling course, so you don't really want to see me like moving divs around and adding class names. Like, hopefully you sort of understand how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to pause here. I'm going to have a break too, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so welcome back. Hopefully you had a nice break. In the meantime, I have been busy. I have styled up our TikTok page. So I'm going to have a header with my face because I am the user, an upload button. The box for suggested accounts has been styled up a bit. We've got a for you and a following and a space for our top accounts. I have also gone ahead and linked up the upload page. Let's get rid of that. With a simple upload page like this, where you can put in a caption and put in your video URL, post it, and that should appear on the home page. So we've already got our data. Let's actually start linking it up to elements such as cards in our app. So let's go back here. Before moving on, actually, I hope you do remember our data. I said that I didn't like it being like this. So instead of just returning the response, we can actually do something like that. So in this piece of code, essentially, if I now refresh our page, we have now got rid of the object keys, and we just now have the data objects themselves. So that is how you do that. So this little piece of code will do that right here. We are essentially mapping to each response element in our array. So now that we have that covered, let's go over to our home page and start mapping out data onto something that I've already made. So I've already gone ahead and made cards for us to map our data to. By a card, I mean a post. So a card will contain the username, the name, whether the user is followed or not, how many likes, how many comments, and of course the video. So the card will contain all that. I also have a mini card and a micro card. The mini card is for the column just here. Let's go back. So the mini card will go on the top accounts and the micro card will go into suggested accounts, or the other way around. I can't remember now, but we'll figure it out. So just so you know, that's what the 3 cards are for the feed, for the top accounts, and for the suggested accounts. Okay, so in the home page, the first thing I'm going to do is actually get the data. So you can already see I've imported the mini card and the mini card for me to use. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is actually populate our data. So I'm going to go add data, and then it's an async function because we are going to be doing a post. I'm going to use axios, which we haven't actually, oh, that was nice. It's already imported it for us. So axios, I don't know where it's a capital. I always like it to be small. And then we're going to post to the Netlify functions add data. Okay, so now instead of actually visiting the page to add our data, we can just do it in here. So that will add our data, const add data. The next thing I want to do is actually put this in a use effect. Add data and invoke it in here. I'm just going to return an empty array for now. Okay, so we're going to add the data. Cool. We've added the data, and the next thing we need to do, as we discussed, is actually fetch the data so we can use it. So let's go ahead and write a function for that too. So I'm just going to do it down here. Const fetch data. Again, we are just mimicking as if we are visiting the pages. Async. Const results. Await, and this time, because we're getting the data, we need to get, we are posting the data, and then we're getting the data, because we're posting those five objects to our database, to our DataStax Astra database. Okay, Netlify, functions, posts. Okay, so we're fetching the data. I'm just going to console log it to see it. Always nice to see things, I think. So I know that I then want to set the users as results data. So up here, const users, set users, use states, and I'm going to start off with no, because we started with no users. I'm just gonna actually import use state here. Oh, already done it for us? Or did I already pre-write that? I can't remember. Either way, it's there, so we don't need to worry. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. I'm just gonna whack that in my use effect as well. Fetch data. Oh, I misspelled Netlify. Okay, posting. Okay, so now if I refresh the app, we are posting the data, so the 5 objects, and we're getting the data. So now if I inspect the page in our console log, we should, great. And in here you will see our 4. Okay, it's 4 objects. I've been saying 5. I've actually only put in 4 objects into an array. That's fine, it's not a problem. We've got 4 posts. Okay, so we're getting our data. We can see that's console logging. We're setting that data, so setting users or posts. I've put it as users this time. We're setting the users so we can use it as users later. So I'm just going to go and get rid of that because we don't need it. Okay, so we've got our data. What's the next thing we need to do? Well, I think we need to start mapping it onto our cards. However, I'm just going to do some filtering because I've decided that I want to actually sort my posts out by ID order. So if users exist, I'm going to get descending users. I'm going to get the users and sort A, B. So hopefully you're familiar with sorting. I just want to sort by ID. So B, ID. So that's a neat way that you can sort by descending order. Okay, because I want to actually use it outside of this, I'm going to set this as a global variable for here, const descending users. So now we have our users in descending order. Let's go and map them. Okay. So once again, I'm just going to make sure that this renders only once we get our data. So descending users, and then, and only then, we want to see this code. So I'm just going to whack this. Where did I put this? Above here. Cool. Next. Okay, so we've got our descending users. If descending users exist, we show this code. And then in our feed, we want to start mapping onto a card. So once again, I'm going to get our descending users. And this time I'm going to use map to map each descending user, singular. I'm going to get its index 2. And then I'm going to get the card component. And the card component doesn't actually have any props yet, but we're going to change that now. So here's our card component. I don't need to actually, I just need one like this. And inside here, I'm going to get the key. I'm going to use the index. I mean, I could have used the ID. No, let's just use the index. User, descending user, singular. And then that is it for now. That's the two things I want to pass through. So I'm just going to pass through the descending user into our card. Now, everything's going to break if I check my browser, because we need to pass this into the card. So how do we do this? Well, we actually get our card and we pass through. I'm going to actually use some destructuring, so I'm just going to pass through the user. So now, if I console log user, I'm going to put user here so we can differentiate from other things we're console logging, and I visit my browser. No, it's not working. What doesn't it like? Const descending users requires a value. That's strange. I'm quite used to leaving these. I'm going to put it as let. That's why. I'm just going to go here and console log descending user to see if that's worked. Okay, so we've got our descending users. I'm just going to check their descending ID 3. ID 1. ID 0. Okay, so they are descending. That's working. And then descending users, map descending user. Pass on the descending user to... oops. And ta-da! You will now see my card that I am mapping out each time. At the moment, it just appears 4 times because we have 4 users and everything's generic. But you can see the user being console logged here each time. Okay, so now that we have all that data, we need to make this more, I guess, personal to each card, because I want each card to be basically each user. So let's do that quickly here. So we've passed through the user. Now, user profile, well, essentially this is going to be the user avatar, because you can see here, user avatar. We then need to use the user caption, comments, ID, everything. So having this in mind, I'm just going to fill this out. So again, user name, username, user time stamp, user caption. The generic thing is to be followed, so let's change that. So if the user button visible, so if button visible true and we want to see the user's button if we follow them or not, then we'll show this button. And the class name is dependent, so this is how you do a dependent class name. User is followed question mark, and if the user is followed, well, we go followed button. We add the style of followed button, which I've pre-written here. And if he is not followed, then we go follow button. Once again, I'm just going to actually do this so you can see a little better. If the user is followed, question mark, is it followed? Well, then we put following. Alternatively, put follow. Okay. Let's just close that off. Now, the video itself, well, we would put the source as user video, and then user likes and user comments. So now you will see here that each card has its own video, has its own avatar, name, username, timestamp that we're going to reformat, caption, user likes and user comments. I didn't seem to, what did I do wrong there? Ah, yes, we need to put it in. Curly braces. Sweet. And you will see that we are following some users and we are not following some users, and so on and so on. So this is looking really good. The next thing I want to do is populate these two as well. So let's go ahead and do that. It's going to be super similar to what we've just done. So I'm going to go back to my homepage. I'm actually going to use this. So if users exist, I'm going to create a const following. So I want to actually check who we're following. I'm going to grab the users array. So the original users array that we, so when we fetch the data, so the sorted array. And I'm going to use filter to filter out by user. So I'm going to grab the user, and if user is followed, and that is true, or I could just actually keep it as if user is followed, that'd be the same. Okay, so we've got our following. Now we need to, what do we want to do? We've got our followers, so people that we're following, sorry. We've got our people that we are following stored in the const following. Let's sort them by descending order too. So const descending following. Okay, so descending and we're following them. I'm gonna actually just use this and swap that out. Cool. But instead of doing it by ID, I'm actually going to do it by likes, because, you know, like you always have the most popular person showing up as a suggested person to follow, and also in your own following, I guess. So, okay, this is looking good. And then let's perhaps get our top 5. So top 5 following. So we've got our people that we're following. We've then put them in descending order from most popular to least, and so then we're going to get the top 5 following. So we're going to get them and just use slice to get the top 5. Cool. Now again, I am going to define this up here so we can use it everywhere. So we've got that, and now let's map it out once again to our mini card this time. Or actually no, this time we're going to pass it through into our followers column. So what should I call this? I'm just going to call it users and pass through the top 5 following. Cool. If I save that and go into here, well then of course I need to add the top 5 following. And then I'm going to store that as users here. So top 5 following dot, I think that was it. Or do I need to, okay, hold on, let me just console log this. It's a lot of console. Okay, yeah. So we've got a top 5 following. Obviously we don't have enough, data, so it's only given us 2 people that we're following, which is fine. However, yeah, I thought so. So we need the top 5 following users. Okay. Because this gives us an object, we want an array. So let's go ahead and do that, users. So now, if I look in here, it's gonna give me each user. So all the users. So now if I look in here, I have the top 5 following users. Okay. I know I've gone from calling it like post to users, but I mean, just bear with me. Okay. It's the same thing essentially, because we've modeled it that each user only has 1 video. So it could be a post, it could be a user. It's up to you. Okay, so we've got our top 5 users. Now I'm actually going to use the microcard that I've imported here and do the same as we did before. So if users exists, then we want to get the users array and map it out. I'm going to get the user and I'm going to get the user's index again. And then I'm going to get the microcard, and then in the microcard, I'm going to pass a key, which is the index, and of course the user. Okay, so before we move on, we need to go and pass through the user into our microcard. So once again, I'm going to go into the microcard, and this time I'm going to pass through the user, and then user avatar, and I'm going to use the user name and the user name. Okay, I think this was the username. So now if we refresh, ta-da! Our top 5 accounts are showing up, even though there's only 2. There can be 5. Okay, cool. One more thing, and that's the suggested box until we carry on. So I'm gonna go back into my homepage for this. Okay, so where am I going to do this? Well, our suggested box is here. So under the space here that I specifically left out when I was making these templates, I'm going to actually import my mini card this time. I'm going to get the key. So this is really similar again. And then I'm also going to get the user and pass through a user. But this time I want to get the top 5 not following, right? So I'm going to be really lazy and just copy this, obviously. I think you can hopefully get it by now. I'm just going to do the same, but this time not following. So not following, if the user is not followed, I could do bang or I could do false. It's up to you guys. And then const descending, not following, not following this time, and to grab the not following array and sort it this time. Yeah, I think also from the one with the most likes to the least, and then top 5, not following, descending, not following. Okay, and once again, let's store it up here so we can use it wherever we want. In this case, it's in the mini card. Okay, so in here, okay, I need to map this out, don't I? So if this array exists, actually no, because we already have the users existing, so let's not bother. Okay, then we map the not following user and an index to the mini card. So this time I'm actually mapping out not followed user. Okay, so did a mistake there. Cool. Yeah. Okay, so this is looking nice. Let's check it out. But before I forget, user. And once again, user avatar, username, and user name. This one also has a button, so quite similarly to how we did it on the home page. In fact, exactly the same. So I'm just gonna probably copy it out. It wasn't on the home page, was it? It was on the followers column. It wasn't even there. It was on the card, wasn't it? So I'm gonna get this piece of code just to say that, you know, if the user is already followed, that we want that to be visible. Cool. And key is not defined. All right, okay, so that was back in my homepage. Key is not defined. Oh yeah, that's because we need index. And ta-da! Okay, so we've got everything looking really good so far. The next thing I want to do is actually make a put request. So I want to edit each of these users to toggle from follow to unfollowed if I click the button, because at the moment it has no functionality. So I'm going to do that, and the last thing I'm going to do is actually create a post from the upload page. So let's do it. To do this, I'm actually going to need to create a new function. I'm going to call it edit.js. Once again, I'm going to actually use a lot of the same syntax that is here. So I'm just going to copy most of this and put it in here. So again, we need the create client. We've got our collections name. We're getting essentially our auth token. And then we are also, just tidy that up. Cool. And then we are also getting our users from the collection, or post as we previously called it. But this time we don't want to do this, okay? And we definitely don't want to do that. So I'm just going to leave it as a status code 200 if we're successful, or a 500 and the error notification, or just an error being received back if we fail. So in the edit page, I'm going to actually have to update. So if I go back to the Astra collection, how do we do this? Here we go, update. So we would find the post or user by the identifier, and then we would pass through what we want to change. So, okay, I'm going to actually maybe copy this so we can work from it. We don't need to save it as anything. We're simply going to actually, don't need to, oh wait, we're going to get our users. I'm going to update our user, but we need to know which user to update. So I'm going to have to pass through something essentially to get the ID of the user. So then we can change the body. So I'm not actually going to do anything here yet. So I'm not going to save this file because we need to pass through things. We need to pass through things as an event. So when I was saying this very much like a request response sort of thing, I'm going to show you how. So again, not saving this. In fact, I'm just going to comment it out just so we don't do anything silly. And now in the home page. Okay, so this is going to be quite fun because we're going to be passing data from our child to our parents, because obviously we need to know if we click on a card, and that's done in the card, but we're going to be handling all this in the home component, so we can then pass down the data again. So in my card, on the button, so there's a lot happening in the button. In my button, so here in the first tag, I want on click, and if the button is clicked, I then want to toggle follow and pass through the user. Okay, so that's one thing. I then actually need to put this as a prop here, okay, because that's how we change the state in the home component. We pass through a prop. We definitely don't pass through a prop. We pass through a function in order to change the state in the home component. So toggle follow, that's now a prop on the card component. I am going to save this. Now our card component, which is in our home component. Okay, so here's where all the heavy lifting is essentially going to be done. I need to actually put toggle follow. So this is now going to look like this. And then user toggle, which is something we haven't written yet. User toggle, this is going to be actually up here. So const user toggle, and then set user toggle, and then I'm going to just put the state as null to start. Okay, so user toggle, set user toggle. Actually, maybe let's user to toggle, okay? Because essentially we're passing through the user from the card. That's what we did. We are giving the card the user, and then we are setting that as the user to toggle. So user to toggle, set user to toggle. That makes more sense. User to toggle, set user to toggle, and then user to, user to toggle. Okay, so that might have been quite a lot, but I'm going to show you that has worked. So up here, console log user to toggle. Did I spell that right? User to toggle, set user to toggle. set user to toggle. Well, we'll find out soon enough. So set user to toggle. I'm just going to put set user to toggle. Okay, so now in here, if I click, user to toggle null. User to toggle. So obviously it's null at first. And then here we see the user that we want to toggle. Okay, and it should say Nina Zen, and it does. Perfect. I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of some console logs because everything's getting quite difficult to read at this point in time. So just bear with me because I can't even remember where we have them now. Oh, there we go. Okay, so back on the home page, let's just see this again, just so it's a little bit clearer and fresh. Let's go ahead and click Angela this time. And user to toggle, Angela Lee. Amazing. So we're getting our users to toggle, and we now have that information in our home page. This is important because essentially we want to render these buttons based on the data. So say if we change this, we want to save that data on the home page so that we can render this card and these cards as well with the same data. That's why it has to be in the home page. Okay, so we've got our user to toggle. This is looking good. The next thing we want to do is actually edit our data with this. So I'm going to do this here. So if a user to toggle exists, right, so we're storing something, we want something to happen. We want to get the new value of the toggle. So user to toggle, if is followed. So if he is followed, we want to change to false. And if he's not followed, we want to change it to true. So this is just a simple toggle. And then, okay. The next thing we want to do is actually pass that through in the correct way. So as you can see here, we need the ID of the user and then this object like this, okay, with the is followed. That's what we're going to have to do. So to do this, I'm actually going to get a data constant and is followed new value. So that's going to be our object. And then we can just pass through the ID. So that should look the same. Now, if I do Axios put in the similar way that we did the others, so I'm going to put the Netlify, the path as simply our functions folder and then the edit.js file. Now I'm going to pass through user ID, user to toggles ID, and then our data, right? Okay, so now we've got the ID, we've got the data as an object. So this is looking like that already. Okay, so that should be able to pass correctly. I'm just going to do, I just want to have some more visibility on it. So this is something that I like to do. Then JSON console log JSON. We probably don't need all of these, but whatever. Console log, console error. In fact, no, let's just do it. Just thinking, I sort of have them on the other side too, but okay. So once we have all that, and once all of this is done, then, and only then do I want to refetch all the data. Okay, because we've just updated our data, but we haven't actually rendered our component to, you know, like, I guess, reflect this. So we won't be able to see our buttons change visibly. So this is going to do that. We're refetching the data so we can repopulate our app, so we can re-render with all the buttons being correct. So refetching the data. And then, of course, we need to set user to toggle to be back to null. That's an important step. Okay. Right, I'm going to save this. And now we can go back to this. So here we have our edit Netlify function. Now, what I need to do in order for this to work is actually see what's coming back to us in the body. So I'm just going to do that now. Again, I'm just going to... Okay, so we want to see what's happening because I want to make sure that the data is being passed through correctly. Let's actually go ahead and console log body so that we can see it. Let's go back here. I'm going to click here. And then in here, we will see that our body returns. Okay, amazing. So now we need to get the body user ID and the body data and pass that through. So body user ID and body data. Actually, we don't need it like this. We could just do body data, otherwise it will break because it's already an object. Okay. Let's again get rid of these. They're everywhere. I hate them. That's what happens when you copy and paste from somewhere else. Okay, so this is looking good. Let's try it out. Ta-da! We will now see we are editing. That one hasn't been linked up yet, but let's try another one. Ta-da! Angela goes from being followed to not being followed. And let's move her back. Ta-da! Amazing! Okay, let's go ahead and do the same for these buttons here. So once again, I'm going to get rid of these console logs now because we don't need them. Space this out a bit. So let's go back to our home page. This time, we need to do the same for the mini card. So I'm literally just going to get that, go to our mini card and pass through toggle follow, so the function, so that we can use it here. And once again, I would just need to open up the top tag of our button, on click, and on click, toggle follow. We want to pass through the user that we have clicked. Okay, so let's check it out. I think that should be enough to do it. Yes, amazing. It is now working. Ta-da! Okay, we're nearly done. One more thing. We're going to actually learn how to use the create from the astrajs collection. So I'm going to do this by linking up our upload page. Once again, we're going to have to add a Netlify function. I'm just going to call it add. Once again, I'm just going to get this, just some like boilerplate really now. We've got everything we need. We don't so much need this because we don't care about the body at the moment. And this time we need to create. So similar to what we did when we added our data, we're going to take this one. Const user await users create, and then I need to give an ID. For this, I'm just going to give like a fake random ID. So there's actually something called Faker, which I'm going to import that will let us do it. So let's go ahead and do that now. New tab, npmi, Faker. So Faker will just give us like a random ID that we can use. It's always going to be like super, super random. Of course, if you would rather do it another way, that's absolutely fine. If you'd rather be more specific, then you can, of course, you know, like get the length of how many users you have or posts you have in your database, return it and use that as well. But I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use this for now. So I've just imported Faker into here. Let's go and use it. Let ID equal Faker UID and invoke that Faker, not fakes. I'm going to make sure it's random too. Okay, so Faker random, and then that is now going to be our ID. And then again, I'm going to actually have to pass through a body, but that body is going to be dependent on what we pass through in our upload page or our upload component. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so here we have our upload page. I guess let's get it up here as well. So I want the input of this to essentially be what we create with a post. A lot of these fields are already pre-made because I'm going to be posting as myself. I'm the user. So you can see here, I've already gone ahead and set my username, my name, and my avatar. So what are we going to have to create? Well, when we create, we need to actually give the whole, so all the data. So similar to this object right here. So what's that? Data, data object. So I already know that I'm going to need an ID. So let's use Faker for that too. Faker random UID. So we've got our ID. What else? Name. Well, we have our name. We also have our username. My username is Ania K100. We need an avatar, which I already have too. I'm just going to stick that in there. Is followed. Well, we can't really follow ourselves, so that's going to be false always. Video, well, that's something that we're going to actually be inputting, so I'm going to leave that blank for now. Caption, again, that's something that we're going to input. Likes 0, let's start off at 0 because it'd be weird to upload something with pre-liked. Comments, again 0. A time stamp. Okay, so we're going to need a timestamp. I can actually do this quite easily as well. So similar to like the ID, which I don't know why I've put here. Let's just put it here. I'm going to get the const today. Let's get today's date. New date. So that'll give us today's date. And now for the timestamp, we simply get today's date. And then we use to ISO string to make it the same as the date format that we have in our project. So now I could just whack in timestamp and it will be the same. I'd love to show you, but just trust me. I mean, I can. We'll see it anyway. And the last one is button visible. And of course, I don't want to see my button because we can't follow ourselves. It'd be weird as well. So I'm going to keep that as false, hard code it as false. Okay, so the only things we really need that are missing that we need to pass through to create our new post are video and caption. So I'm going to actually go ahead and put video, set video, use state null, and do the same for caption. Set caption, use state. Oh, so if I actually send this object now, it would have a null video and caption. But this is looking good. Okay. Shall we actually, yeah, let's go to setting the caption and the video. So I'm actually going to have an on submit on the form. On submit. Submit. And this is going to handle our submit. Our handle submit is essentially going to be the post request. So let's actually leave that up here as maybe blank or something for now. Const handle submit. It's going to be an async function, and we need to pass through an event. I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to put ePrevent default as well, just as good practice. Okay, so nothing's going to happen yet. That's because we need to actually get our input for our caption, and on change, E for event, oops. We want to set caption as E target value. So this is pretty cool. I'm going to show you this. If I now console log caption, save, and start typing. Oh no, knew that was going to happen. Oh, I've misspelled it. Import faker from faker. Okay. So now if I start typing, ta-da! We are setting our caption. Let's do the same for video. So this is simply another on change on an input, but this time I want to set the video. Okay, so this is looking good. I mean, I can keep my data object there, that's fine. And then in here, Axios post. And once again, we're going to use the Netlify function path, Netlify functions, and we need to go, can't spell, functions, and we need to go to add. And then we're going to pass through our data. Cool. Okay. Then response. Just want to see what is happening. I always want to see what's happening. I do so many console logs. And then catch error. Error. Console log. Oops, console error. Always have visibility or time. Can't have too much. Okay. Okay, so this time I'm just going to pass through data. I can't be bothered to pass through the ID. These IDs are all random anyway. So I'm just going to make our life a little bit easier this time and show you a different way of doing it too, as opposed to the edit. So I'm going to save this page. And now in my ad, so this is my ad. I've already added the fake ID, which is random. Now I'm going to pass through the data. So once again, I'm just going to console log to see what's happening here. And this time I'm just going to pass console log the event. So now, response is not defined. Okay, so now my first post. If I click post, oh no. Okay, well that didn't work. Oh yeah, obviously we haven't finished it properly. So now you'll see that this is my event. Faker is not defined. Const faker require faker. Okay, let's try again. Post. Okay, so that won't work, but hopefully we see what we get when we console log the event. And do we see a body for us to use? We do. So that's what we need. That's what we want to pass through to our create. So I'm just going to go ahead and put event body. It's already an object, so I don't need this. Event body. Okay, so let's try again. Post and status code 200. We have done it. And if I go here, you will see here my post. Ta-da! Okay, amazing. We have done it. We've created our TikTok clone app in which we can get data, add posts, edit posts, so toggle from follow, unfollow, and so much more. So honestly, like, I'd love for you to take this project and really go to town. There's so much more you can do. Obviously, at the moment, we don't have enough data. Maybe that could be something you can do with yours. Make a database of like hundreds and hundreds. As I mentioned, DataStax is free up to a certain point, but hopefully you get an idea about scaling as well if you want to take it to the next level. Other things you can do is, of course, do more filtering. At the moment, we are stuck on the for you, but you can expand the follow tab as well. There's literally so much you can do. I'd really love to see some more complicated databases. All of this is possible with the Astra collection. So yeah, hopefully it's been super easy for you to follow. If you have any questions, do let me know. As always, I'm gonna share my code with you. I'm gonna obviously tidy up a little bit. We were sort of just doing everything quite quickly, so it might not be the neatest for this video, but it will be in my final code. So I'll share that with you, as well as links from all the things we discussed. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again soon.